Hey everybody, Blue here. I'm playing a little bit of a Get Over It. I'm struggling to get over this gosh dang rock right here. Gotta get up on this little metal thing. Today we're gonna be talking. Oh, son of a bitch! To start from the beginning, I started playing this month's Let's Player Flavor of the Week, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. If you haven't heard of it yet, first of all, did they already remove net neutrality where you live? Haha, relevant joke! Second, you may remember those losers who would sit in the computer room in middle school every day playing co-op during recess and... oh. That was you. Sorry. Anyways, Bennett Foddy was also the creator of Co-op, which means you probably get an idea of how Getting Over It works. I've actually really enjoyed my time with Getting Over It so far. It's a quote-unquote rage game, but something about it makes me want to keep playing. Through all the difficulty the game throws at the player, something just drives you to keep moving forward. So today, we're going to talk a bit about how good difficulty can be a wonderful accent to a game, and how bad difficulty can just throw any hope that game had out the window. So, the whole concept of Getting Over It is climbing a giant mountain of recycled assets, but your character is jammed into a cauldron and it's severely impairing your movement. The only way you have to move forward is swinging a hammer with the mouse, and that works about as well as you can expect. While again being a quote-unquote rage game, the difficulty here is used ultimately to enhance the experience. It may be frustrating to lose all your progress, but it feels like this difficulty has a purpose in the game. As you progress, Bennett will often speak to you as the player, and either try to console your frustrations or justify why things are the way that they are. My absolute favorite clip from Bennett is his explanation on the difficulty in some parts of the game.
A funny thing happened to me as I was building this mountain. I'd have an idea for a new obstacle, and I'd build it, test it, and it would usually turn out to be unreasonably hard. But I couldn't bring myself to make it easier. It already felt like my inability to get past a new obstacle was my fault as a player rather than as a builder. Imaginary mountains build themselves from our efforts to climb them, and it's our repeated attempts to reach the summit that turns those mountains into something real.
This solidified my belief that Getting Over It needed to be a challenging game to feel complete. However, it can start to feel unfair due to inconsistent controls. So the hammer can be swung in a full 360 around the player, and is meant to be kinda cumbersome to control because it's a giant hammer. Oftentimes, however, the hammer is really unresponsive and feels really loose, creating a lot of moments where you're perfectly positioned and you know what needs to be done, but the controls actively work against you and seem to be a bit too jumpy with their movements. If this happened all the time, it would be a different story, but the controls work. They prove that they can work, so it just makes the betrayal that much more painful when they start to bug out. And in a game where you can be sent back to the beginning after any little slip up, you'll run into a lot of moments where you don't feel like it was your mistake that caused the fall. This brings us to the other part of the discussion, which is fairness. Fairness is the deciding factor between good difficulty and bad difficulty. For an example, I recently started another playthrough of Bloodborne. So, being part of the Souls series, it has that reputation of being super hard. This is the Dark Souls of Cuphead, of Crash Bandicoot, of Dark Souls. But again, in the cases of the Souls series, the difficulty is meant to add something to the narrative that would not exist if you were much stronger than all your enemies. So imagine traversing the world of Bloodborne but possessing the strength of Kratos. Nothing would be scary. Every enemy would just be another mild obstacle in the path of your destruction, rather than a fateful encounter. Even as you get stronger in Bloodborne, you never begin to feel cocky, like you can handle anything. Even the weakest of enemies can cut you down if you aren't paying attention. This creates the suspenseful and eerie atmosphere that Bloodborne is known for. Tight controls, a smooth moveset, and clear boss patterns creates a fair situation where the course of the battle is in the player's ballpark. They have all that they need to beat the boss, but it's up to their skill to beat them. So in order for difficulty to be appealing, it has to feel like the player truly had a chance in that encounter. If bad enemy placement, hitboxes, or movement is hindering him, they're gonna feel way more likely to just throw in the towel and move on to another game. To shorten that, if you fail and it's your fault, you'll want to try again. If you fail and it's the game's fault, you'll want to quit. An example of this comes from the recently released Crash Bandicoot trilogy, where obstacles that were originally fair yet difficult to overcome became unfair due to some really broken platform hitboxes that weren't updated in the remaster. When a game can pull off difficulty really well but allow the player to feel in control of the situation, it creates this wonderful unity where despite being frustrated, the player wants to keep moving forward just to see what happens next. To tie this back into Getting Over It, I found myself wanting to keep playing despite all the hardship just to get to the next narration from Bennett, but soon as I ran into a moment that I couldn't see being a fault of my own, it makes me want to pack it up and stop playing. As video games continue to advance, I think we're actually getting a lot better at this balance. Unfair difficulty is no longer used to pad short experiences, and instead developers are finding new ways to make their games challenging without taking away the player's control. For the most part, the days of difficulty being enhanced by absurd enemy tracking and damage are gone. Instead, we're making strides towards the future where difficulty is fine-tuned to craft an experience from the ground up, rather than just tweaking some numbers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you like this one, then you'll probably like my 2 videos down there about Xbox and Nintendo. And if you're really interested, you can click that middle button to go ahead and subscribe for more videos.